What I want to talk about now is the offerings that Francis used. There were basically in our 5-year, 6-year association, Francis transitioned mainly between three offerings. The first one he used in the late 90s was this type of offering made out of spiny oyster. Usually it would be carved just this way, an arrowhead with the tails here, which almost had the look of some sort of a Zuni spirit rising. He would then add a piece of turquoise, and on top of that a piece of coral. It was always wrapped with deer sinew. This particular bear fetish has a typical Francis look on its face. Almost a portrait of Francis with a bit of distortion. This was early on. Francis was just becoming accustomed to carving large. If you notice, that's what he was used to carving. This is what he first went to. The next piece, the next arrowhead and offering that Francis used was made out of abalone shell. And again, he used that arrowhead design. This is abalone shell. He transitioned from the spiny oyster to the abalone. This was probably used around the year 2000 to maybe 2001 or so. He had a supply of abalone. He was quite pleased with it. It gave a rainbow effect, but it has a very spiritual look, but basically the same as what he was doing before when he was using the spiny. He was a master at creating these small little marquettes or works of art. This is his wolf, a beautiful little carving. This here is a small little Easter bunny. If you notice the abalone eggs that he's carrying, this was an Easter bunny that he made. He also did Easter bunnies that were standing, and again he used the abalone to make a Easter egg. Francis had a great imagination. He did beautiful frog carvings too, by the way. Here's a frog that he carved out of frogstone, serpentine. The face is quite expressive. And if you notice the beautiful petty point, in my opinion, Hayes would help him with this. Francis could not do these fine drills and petty point. I think Francis helped him with that. Hayes helped him with that. But just beautifully expressive. Here's another frog. His work was all different. Here's another frog. Here's a beautiful frog in the middle of croaking. You can see the throat come down. This is also done in a serpentine. Just beautiful. From his last offering, however, was completely different. From the spiny oyster and the abalone shell, he went to turquoise. And when he went to turquoise, the arrowhead was carved in the shape of a Leekya leaf. Again, look at that big piece of coral. You just don't see that anymore. What you see now are small branches. Francis had a supply from years and years of working of pieces of fine stone and coral. This is a beautiful large coral branch. He attached to it again sinew. Just a beautiful piece of white marble. And look at the face on that. Just incredible. Another piece he did that's quite unusual. Here's another bear. I believe this is called angel skin. Look at that. Look how he wrapped the arrowhead around the back. The attention to detail. Francis was wheelchair bound. This was his life. He wanted this to be perfect. He wanted people to remember him for these. There was no rush when he made this. The goal was perfection, and to give himself an opportunity to exercise his imagination and to create. And that's exactly what he did. Look at the movement. Here the bear is turning. Every detail attended to. Here's a difficult piece he made. This is one of two pieces he made out of ivory. Ivory is extremely difficult to carve. When you carve ivory, the dust, it smells like burning chicken feathers. It's terrible. And that fine dust would get in his mouth, on his clothes, in his studio. He carved two pieces out of ivory, fossil ivory. This is a wolf he carved. Again, look at that beautiful offering. This is natural turquoise with high-grade oxblood coral. It simply doesn't get any better than that. Just a beautiful piece. Look at the face he did on that. Just marvelous. Another unusual carving he did towards the end of his life was he'd get little pieces of stone, or larger pieces too for that matter, from his sons. For a while Delvin had this beautiful rainbow dolomite and would give some to his dad. This little bear, it's a one of a kind. Look at the way he caught the muzzle right here, and the purples and browns. Again, he used that theme of his father's arrowhead leaf design with beautiful oxblood coral. Just a beautiful piece. I'd like to move on to another thing he did that was quite unusual. His horses. These are incredible. He added what he called boots. He usually would do his boots in coral, turquoise, but he made two out of silver, where he would, this he called his palomino, a palomino horse, a golden palomino. Look at the face on that. It does look a bit like Francis, a self-portrait of sorts, but so alive. And look at his silver hooves, or boots. You don't see that very often. There's one other piece like that. There were two. This is one. There's one other somewhere out in the world. I've never seen another carver do that. This was a first as far as I ever saw. Just beautifully made. I think someone helped him, of course, with this. I don't think Francis could have done this with one hand in a wheelchair. But certainly the idea was his. The inspiration was his. So that's another Francis horse. Perhaps we should move on to Francis's mountain lions. This one I find interesting. I would consider this a concretion, where he saw the mountain lion in the stone and simply used it as a reference to carve around the stone. So he set this mountain lion free from the dolomite that it resided in. The carving simply followed the outline that he saw here. He added this tail. On this piece you can particularly see all the flat spots from where he touched the stone to the wheel. Look at that. Just marvelous. And that about covers our collection. There's so many more, but I don't want to go through each one. You'll check us out at Sedonawolf.com. Francis Leekya. You'll read more about him, see some of the fetishes we have for sale. If you have any questions, please call us. Our pleasure to talk to anyone about Francis. We loved him dearly. He was a good friend. Thank you very much. Have a good day.